can't tell y'all? You tuning into the best morning show on the globe. It's Bradham and Emery in the morning, y'all. LeBron or Jordan, either one when I'm performing. Crossover, buzzer beater and I'm scoring. Bradham and Emery in the morning. Every play they on it. Every day I'm balling. Who's the coach? Who's the GOAT? Like Brady and Belichick, best show on the globe. And they embellish it. Y'all paying Ziffy, I'm Ken Griffey or maybe Mahomes. I stay in the zone, whether man to man or play in the zone. They can't stop me. Mayweather boxing, Curry with the shot, man. We just the best to be. Can we have our SB, please? This was meant to be. Every morning with Bradham and Emery.
Yes, sir. You know the vibes. Bradham Emery in the morning. No Marcus Bradham. I am Justin Emery, though. Joined alongside by guest co-host, my good friend Mike Joachim from every podcast in the whole world that you ever hear. How you doing today, my friend? Thanks for jumping back on.
I'm great, man. I'm happy to be back and hope everybody enjoyed last week. And I'm ready to stump you again with the hockey or not segment.
No, I'll win that one. I'm going for 4 in a row this week. That'll be later on in the show. Going for 4 straight, and I plan to stay hot.
All right.
It just is what it is. And as far as the episode that you had mentioned last week, that's a top 10 episode. So I think you should definitely pat yourself on the back with that.
All right. I like what I hear.
Yeah, you should definitely pat yourself on the back. Now, we all know it's because I was leaving the show and not Marcus, but that's beside the point.
Don't kick Marcus when he's not able to defend himself. That's not fair.
Well, that's my favorite point to kick him because I'm not sure if I feel like getting into a battle of wits with him at 10:37 a.m. like I do every day right now over this.
Fair.
But man, I got a ton of stuff for this NBA Sixers that we got to get to today.
Yeah,
I want to address your what you did on your podcast last week in regards to the soccer cards.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that you have some racing info, and I do not know a better personal source to go to for racing info. So we'll definitely be getting to that. Going to have to get into all these stimmy jokes that are all over social media that I've been entertained with for the last 24 hours. My favorite one being $1,400 hits the account. You walk into Louis Vuitton. Excuse me, I need to speak to Lois. That's my favorite one right now. Or you walk into Chuck E. Cheese and you ask where the rat is.
I appreciate all of that.
Yeah, stimmy jokes going on. But so been a week since we last jumped on. What was the last 168 hours like for you?
Not fun.
Fair enough.
Not enjoyable. Listen, the weekend was nice, relaxing, quiet. The week itself, I got the impression that I won't be doing too much traveling for IndyCar this year.
Yes. They're not doing it.
No, it sounds like most people won't be getting media credentials unless you go through the track. And when they close the area where the drivers are and whatnot off to media, there's really not too much importance for a podcast to go then, because what benefit do I gain from sitting in a tiny media center all weekend? There's just what they did last year was they bring out drivers in they call it the media bullpen. So each driver walks around, talks to various media members for 2 or 3 minutes, and you don't really know what order you're going into. And I like to plan questions, as I'm sure you do as well for guests. And so it's just
Whoa. How dare you mistake me for someone that plans and is organized?
I know.
Okay?
Listen, I had to throw that little sneaky sly in there and see if.
Yeah. How dare you assume that I plan things?
So I like to plan things, and
I am the technical half of this show. Okay, the planning goes upon the other half.
Fair. Shout out to Marcus for being a good planner. Then.
Absolutely. That's why every show that I'm leading goes off the rails.
Anyway, so yeah, it's just, it's a huge bummer that at least it looks like for the first half of the year, first half of the season, I should say, be be at home. But do some things to switch it up. One of those I'll talk about later when we talk more about racing. But yeah,
It sounds like what you call it, the media bullpen. It sounds kind of like Radio Row at the Super Bowl, where you just have every
yeah.
network there and people just kind of walk down and jump on whatever, whatever station they happen to be by at that point in time.
Yeah. And when you're not somebody who works for the Associated Press or one of the other 3 or 4 big publications that you travel to races, you are not among the elite, essentially, is the vibe I'm getting this year. And it's a little bit of a bummer. I mean, the show goes on, still going to bust my butt all year, but it's hard to not be a little frustrated right now.
Yeah, I mean, especially as someone who pre-pandemic, you had the highest level of media credential from a podcaster that I personally know. Like you were everywhere. You were that like Pit Lane Parlay was synonymous with IndyCar racing for a while there.
Yeah,
And
we're gonna come up with some new things this year. I don't want to spoil too much, but it'll still be very interesting without traveling, and hopefully it either works its way out this year or next year. But with the pits and area being closed, there's not too much. At that point, it's just kind of like a waste of money for me to go, because I'm not able to provide the best experience for everybody who's then going to listen to everything, where I can sit at home and do something like this and record a couple interviews, and I don't have to travel. So as much as I want to travel, because you get so much more being at the track, it doesn't seem right now like it's worth the expense.
Sure. 2 questions for you based off of that. Number one, who is one guy this year that I should say the guy that you're most disappointed about not being able to sit down and talk to with in person?
Oh boy. That's a really good question.
I'll let you kick that one around for a minute.
Yeah.
And I'll ask the other one while you kick that one around. Who is the biggest name person that you've interviewed on the show so far?
I would probably say, so it ended up being a very last minute.
And I understand that when I say big name, it may not be a household name. I mean, it might be. I'm not sure who you're going to say, but I know that it would at least be a name that is extremely well known within the IndyCar community.
So I'm going to give 2 because I can never just give one answer. One, and they were both kind of unique settings. One was on stage at the Detroit race. The Detroit race is actually on like an island in the middle of Detroit, kind of on the river next to the Canadian border. So it's a unique setting.
Yeah. Now, I've never been to Detroit, but I hear I don't necessarily need to go. So I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, don't. No, you're good. Definitely not. And I got asked the last second by somebody who works for IndyCar, hey, do you want to interview Ari Leyendijk? Ari won the Indy 500 in the early 90s. I forget the year, twice. He's a little bit older now, but obviously a legend. So we interviewed him. Matt and I interviewed him on stage in the middle of Fan Village. It was super cool. Funny story. A tornado siren test went off in the middle of the interview, which is very awkward when a legendary man asks you, what do I do right now? And you don't know what's going on. So that was fun.
Two quick points about that. Number one, be glad it was a drill.
Yes.
And it was not a real thing. Number two, in all fairness, if a tornado siren is going off, Mike, I'm not sure I'm turning to you for guidance.
I wouldn't turn to me for guidance either. That's why I was like, do you know who I am? Like, I press buttons and hit record and then edit it to make it sound good. Anyway, it was funny, and
That's funny.
It-
Who's the
the other one was actually when IndyCar raced at Pocono Raceway, here in Pennsylvania, they did a
sure.
media lunch at Yards Brewery, and talking with Will Power, who won the.
What is there? Not the big one downtown, right?
No, the big one downtown. Yeah.
Oh, they did. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it was like
I thought that they would have been somewhere up by the raceway.
Yeah, they came into Philly. It was within 6 months of Yards kind of opening and expanding at their new location up on Spring Garden, and so there's a handful of media, but getting to talk to Will kind of one-on-one without 67 other media around was really cool, and I know the guy who handles Will's social media accounts and that sort of end of things very well. So it was he kind of fed me some funny questions to ask to break the mold, not ask the same sports questions that every athlete gets asked every week. So
yeah, for sure.
It was 6 minutes, 7-minute chat at the most, but I really enjoyed it, and the guys who work for Pocono Raceway are really, really cool. So it was cool to set something up like that.
Yeah, my go-to question whenever I'm interviewing athletes, just like you said, you don't want to give them the same questions. My first question every time is, so if you're going to stuff your face with a victory meal, what are you going to get? Where are you getting it? And can I come with you?
I like that. So speaking of standard questions, we have standard non-racing questions. We like to mix it up and ask a little bit of questions to get to know athletes that people don't always ask. So obviously we ask, okay, what TV show are you watching? Are you a beer fan? Are you a bourbon fan? But I've been building for the last year-ish, maybe a little bit longer than that. It's actually been 2 years. I just forgot to write it down for the first year, which is embarrassing. But I mean, me, I am not remotely organized most of the time. Is a Spotify playlist, and it's only when a driver comes on the show. So if another guy from a team comes on, he doesn't get to pick. I ask a driver, what song do you like before a race, after a race? Obviously, you don't listen to music during a race, but what gets you either in the mood or kind of calm down after a race? There's only been one time in all the interviews I've done in the past year that I haven't gotten an answer. And the guy said, well, it depends on my mood. I was like, okay, well, let's say you're in a happy mood.
Yeah, so you won.
Let's say you just won. Well, it depends. And at that point, you just kind of, I'm sure you just kind of have to know, let's just move on from this.
Yeah.
And
one thing, I'm not here to bash athletes. I enjoy talking to them, but not all of them are always the easiest person to talk to.
No. And at this point, I know across all the racing series who's good to talk to and who maybe doesn't give you the best interviews. But yeah, that was the strangest. I've gotten some strange answers, but that was the one where I was like, I don't know where to go with this one right now.
Yeah, what's the weirdest song you've had to answer to that question?
Oh, let me pull up the
list. One that just is all right, this song does not match either the situation, the personality, what's just a song where you're like, no. So my guy Fats from the Politic and His Usual podcast.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, he put this thing out on Twitter where he was telling people, don't listen to rap music before noon. It'll change your outlook on the entire day if you're not bumping Drake at 7:30 in the morning. Now, number one, I felt like he was personally attacking me with that tweet. That's the first statement. Secondly, I took him up on that, and every once in a while, I'll tweet at him a song. But one song that's found its way into my gym rotation that you would not think is Vanessa Carlton, 1,000 Miles.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So that would be like, if you were to look at through my like, that would be the song. And you're like, oh, we're going from listening to Future to Vanessa Carlton. All right, we're really making a 180-degree turn here, aren't we?
So I can tell you there's a stretch of songs on this playlist that you're just like is mind blowing. So we go from Muse. Okay, good.
Okay, yeah.
Good band. Shout out to Pato Award IndyCar driver for that one. I remember that one. The next one is a country artist by the name of Tim Montana. The song is called Hillbilly Rich. Never heard of it. Have not listened to it yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that at all.
I think that was a sports car driver, but honestly, I couldn't even tell you. Then something that doesn't sound particularly interesting either way. Then we go to a song called Sunset Lover by artist or band, I couldn't tell you, Petite Biscuit. Other people told me this song is very interesting, and I still have not clicked play on. I don't think I've actually listened to this playlist straight at all, other than sharing it out on our social medias. Then we go to Linkin Park, obviously one of my favorite all-time bands. So that's
for sure.
Then we go to Chris Brown.
Real quick, are they just giving you artists, or are they giving you songs with the artist?
I leave it open-ended because I know sometimes like you get put on the spot and you're like, oh, I don't know what to say, and you just say, oh, AC/DC. So then I'll just put one on there myself. But I try to ask for a song if at all possible.
Okay, so how, did the Linkin Park? Did they choose a song, or did they just pick Linkin Park?
She chose the song.
What song did she choose?
Crawling.
Okay, and who was that?
That was a sports car driver, Ashton Harrison Henry. She just got married, and I forget if it's Harrison Henry or Henry Harrison, but I talk to her very often. She's super cool. She's in the Lamborghini sports car series, which is a really cool series to follow when it gets put on TV.
Yeah, I mean, anything Lamborghini, sign me up. Sign me up. Oh yeah, sorry. So Chris Brown. So who are some other ones? Let's
see here. Chris Brown. Oh, just one away from it. Okay, here we go. A band called Mount Joy, which is actually, they are from Philly.
Okay.
I don't know. I think they're kind of like hippie-ish, if that makes sense. We got some Sum 41 and Foo Fighters.
Okay.
AC/DC, not necessarily like I mentioned.
Yeah, not necessarily my style with the Foo Fighters and all that, but I respect it nonetheless.
And when we got some Machine Gun Kelly, I think that was one of the younger kids I interviewed last year. That
I would not bring him back for an interview.
I couldn't tell you who. If it was the one I'm thinking of, yeah, probably not. But if it was the other one, like, I'll give him a pass because he's a good driver.
Now, are we talking like this emo Machine Gun Kelly, or are we talking rapper Machine Gun Kelly?
I think it's emo, but I don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm not gonna click on it.
Don't.
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself.
And let's go out of left field here for the last one. I mean, there's plenty more on here. John Denver, Take Me Home.
Oh, okay.
So
that's funny.
All over the place.
So how about the first one? Do you think of the guy who you most will miss out on not interviewing face to face? Like I said, let's make the assumption that this name is a guy that you get. Yeah, I don't want to play he wasn't available or nothing. Let's assume it's a name of a guy you can get at the racetrack during one of the media sessions. Who's the guy that you're most disappointed with not saying or speaking to?
So I would really love to sit down in person, and I've interviewed him on the phone a million times. I talk to him once in a while, over text and whatnot. But I would really love to talk to Pato Award. He drives for the McLaren IndyCar team. He's
McLaren's.
he's young. He's 23, but he's hilarious, and he's, I think, kind of the one of the young guys who has a long career ahead of him. So I'm super. I would love to just sit down with him and kind of BS and do a good interview. And on the minor league side, there's a guy I'm good friends with. Have become good friends with Toby Sowery, who came over from the UK and is racing again this year. And Toby's really fun. He's a really good dude, and I think has a long career ahead of him if everything works out, which in racing all depends on how much money you have. So we shall see. But those are two guys. Hopefully at some point this year I can get to a track or something like that. But I will definitely have them on the show one way or another. But yeah, they would be guys I would like to actually just sit down and hang out with, because the conversation can go a lot of ways.
What's your favorite track to go to?
Oh boy. So the obvious answer is Indianapolis, because it's, the mecca of racing. But I don't like being obvious, because every time you ask, well, where are you most excited to race this year, that everybody says Indianapolis if I'm talking about IndyCar.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's been to Indianapolis, obviously as someone you have been to Indianapolis, outside of the IndyCar 500, I'm not sure anyone's like, hey, let's go to Indianapolis, unless maybe you're Carson Wentz.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Let's see. I'm trying to think of places I've been. And so again, I'll give two, because I can never have one answer. Laguna Seca, which is out in California, is just an amazing track. Everything about the track, from the facilities that you walk around in to the track itself, is just beautiful. And you're on the coast in California, so the weather is perfect. The drive to the track is beautiful. The drive from the airport is awesome. So everything about it is great. And then,
what's that? Is that in Orange County?
Honestly, I can't remember right now. It's
a little south of LA.
Yeah, south of LA. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably in Orange County.
And
but yeah, you're right. That is quite a scene.
It's amazing. I really feel like California is probably one place I won't get to go this year if I'm looking at the racing schedule. But yeah, that's one. I've only been there once, and it got canceled last year, and who knows what's going to happen this year. But I feel like that's one where everything will be relatively closed off unless the world takes a great turn for the better before September. On the other hand, there's a track that I love. It's got one of the coolest racing and motorcycle racing museums in the track that I've ever seen, in Alabama. The problem is the facilities suck, and it's in Alabama, so there is nothing around the track. It's called Barber Motorsports Park. It's an amazing, the track itself is really cool sight lines, nice twists and turns up and down the hills. They've got some really cool scenery, but once you go outside of the track, there's really not a single thing to do.
Well, I mean, you're in Alabama. I wouldn't really imagine there's very much to do down there. If it's not Saturdays in fall, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be a tough one. You've been to the I think that's NASCAR. Is NASCAR the one that's in Vegas?
NASCAR's in Vegas. IndyCar used to run there. I have never personally been there. And
now, does IndyCar and NASCAR run on the same track?
Some places, at least they used to. Not so much anymore. They've kind of just, that's just the way the schedules have worked out. But yes, they have run on the same tracks many times.
All right, yeah. I don't know. I know nothing. I've learned more in racing in this conversation than I knew going into it. But is it the same distance? What's a lap? Mile and a half? Half a mile? I don't even know.
It again depends on the track. I think Vegas is 2 miles. But Vegas is one and not even talking about my last experience in Vegas, which
we know all about that.
Vegas, the last time IndyCar was there was a very tragic accident. So I personally, even if NASCAR, if I was covering NASCAR there, I would not go. And IndyCar has not gone back since then, and nor do I think they will, or nor do I think they should. So it's unfortunate because it was a nice track, it is a nice track. The NASCAR race there isn't particularly exciting, so I probably wouldn't go even if I didn't have bad memories of the track and the city.
It's really kind of in the middle of nowhere, the track. Like it's way north of the city. Like when you're driving down from like Utah, it's like the first thing you see while you're like coming into town. It's like a good 10 to 15 miles north of the city.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, no, it's like so when you're coming into like the Vegas Valley, like driving from like north coming down I-15, the very first thing that you'll start seeing is I believe it's Nellis Air Force Base is what it's called, I believe. That's about 25 miles north of the city. And then literally it's like after that, then it's the racetrack, and then it's the Amazon fulfillment center, and then it's a bunch of warehouses, and then you start getting into the city. So it's out there. It's by itself. And I've actually got a chance to drive my car through it though one time.
Yeah.
Because during Christmas, they do like the Christmas lights thing there. Yep. Yeah. So I got to whip my car through the race course, which was significantly larger than I expected, both in size and distance, as well as the amount of lights these people decided to hang up for this thing.
Yeah, a lot of racetracks do that, and it's really, really cool. I've never driven my
car. Go and kill it. I thought it was unique to that one. I mean, I felt all good about it. Now I found out it's doing all over the country.
Sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry, but
it's okay. I understand. I also wanted to. I didn't want to cut you off because I was enjoying your little monologue in the beginning. But when I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" and you were like, "Not so great," it reminded me one time of I was getting my who are the people that like give you glasses?
Yeah,
doctors,
optometrists.
Yeah, I was at one of those appointments, and I walk in, and I had just gotten back from a West Coast podcast festival. I'm not going to put any names to it, but I'm sure that you can assume the one that travels was there.
Yep.
So, I had just gotten back. Like, we're talking, I don't know.
Like, did you stroll off a red eye and pretty much go to the eye doctor?
No. Like, it was like maybe like 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
But like, I was still jet lagged. It was that close. I was still jet lagged from it. And I walk in, and the doctor's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? How was your meeting?" And I don't like to be all doom and gloom. Even if it wasn't good, I'll be like, "Oh, it was good." I remember walking in, I was like, "Well, I spent 4 days surrounded by podcasters, so that's how my weekend was." And he was just kind of like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah, that's how it is sometimes. It's the same people at every event, and it is what it is." I was like, "You ever go to conferences?" I'm like, "I'm sure you go to medical conferences." I was like, "You see all doctors and eye doctors and everybody." I was like, "You have ones you like, you have ones you don't like. You see the same people at every one."
Just imagine working.
Like this guy thought I was crazy when I just started going off like this. He was just like, "All right, well, he's like, well, all right, we're gonna come back here and dilate your eyes now." And I can tell in the back of his mind, I'm like, "And hopefully it will shut you up."
He's like, "Please stop, sir. I don't care."
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, "Well, you asked." Oh, you asked.
Last year working, I don't know, 3 or 4 podcast conferences, pretty much like within a 5-week time period for my non-hosting part of my podcast life. I was next to the same 3 or 4 booths in the exhibit area for every single one. And some of the people I love, a couple of the people after like 2.5 conferences, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't look at every time I look over, I just see their face and I get annoyed. And I, when my boss asked me yesterday, he said, are you comfortable doing podcast movement down in Nashville in August? And my
Oh, is that
first
where it
thought,
is this year?
yeah, my first thought wasn't, and I actually, to tie that together with IndyCar, it is the week leading up to the IndyCar race. So I am happy to go, even if I just go to the race as a fan and get to just relax a little bit. But
Oh, it's the race there.
yeah, the race is in the city. So
So you're. Oh, wow.
I
No,
would already
that's awesome for you.
I would already be there, and every expenses are covered. And my first thought wasn't, yeah, I'd like to get back on the road. My first thought was, man, I hope I'm not next to insert podcast person's name that you could
I mean,
probably.
you can say it if you want. It doesn't matter to me.
No, I won't. I won't be that mean. It's too early in the morning to be that mean.
Can I be that mean?
Yes.
Todd Cochran?
100%.
There we go.
See, I just needed you to grease the wheel.
Well, I mean, so I've told you this story, just us talking, but I'll say it on air right now. So years ago, I wanted to buy this domain. I honestly don't even remember what the domain name was.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh man, I really want this. So I, started looking into it, and I found somebody already owned the domain, but it was for sale. I was like, all right, I'll hit the guy up. He's probably, probably bought it for like 12, 15 bucks and wants to flip it for a couple dollars. I'm all in the favor of capitalism. So I was like, how can I fault this guy? So I reach out to him. I sent him an email. Hey, really interested in your domain, blah, blah, blah. Let me know. Emails me back. Hey, thanks for reaching out. Kind of like give me a price for it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's just a domain, but I was like, I really want that domain. I was like, I'll give you $100 for it. He's like, no, I can't take that. I was like, all right. I was like, I'll give you my best offer. I'll give you $200 for it. He's like, no, I'm sorry. I go, all right, well, what you give me a price. And if it sounds reasonable, I want this domain enough. I'll pay a premium on it. I won't go crazy, but I'll pay a little bit. He goes, I'm sorry, I can't let this go for under $4,000. I remember reading that and I audibly laughed. It wasn't like, oh, LOL. I physically laughed. And I remember emailing him back and saying, listen, I'm not gonna bash anybody for setting prices for something.
Sure.
But that domain very well may be worth $4,000. I'm not going to sit here and I don't want to bash you for saying that, but I can tell you who is not worth $4,000 to, and that is to me. So good luck selling it. And this was years ago. I'm saying 4 or maybe even 5 years ago. As of 6 months ago, the domain was still for sale.
Todd.
And that's who it turned out to be. It turned out to be him. But I didn't know Todd, the personality, prior to this. He was just a guy who owned a domain that I wanted. I didn't know who he was. So I also don't use his service, so it doesn't matter. No, I don't want to bash his service though, because I do understand that they are one of the top people in that space. So I do respect what his company has done, even though I don't necessarily like him.
That's fair. Yeah, I agree.
Because you couldn't I bash a lot of people on the show, obviously, and when listen to the show knows I do
no.
But just because I bash someone, that should not be mistaken that I do not understand and appreciate their achievements and accomplishments. So I do not like the guy that we are talking about, but I can understand that he has personally contributed to the entire podcast industry and pushed it forward, even if I don't necessarily agree with most of the things he said. To say that he has had no impact would just be disrespectful and wrong.
Agreed.
But like I said, that doesn't mean I feel like it. And I mean, I got those people at all those conferences I do like, I don't need to run through the names of all of them, but it's always if you talk whoever you talk to, it always seems to be the same thing. And I said this on Twitter the other day. Podcasting's the greatest thing about it is also its worst feature, and that is the barrier or lack thereof entry to do podcasting.
Yeah.
Anybody in the whole world can do it, and that's what makes it great. Joe Schmo down the street can go out. It's what maybe you can get a above average, borderline professional quality sounding setup for $300, $400, $500. If you already have a computer, it's not
right.
Like, the barrier of entry is not high. It's easy to learn. I've taught some not bright people how to do this. It's not hard to do. It gives everyone a platform. That's what makes it great. You know what makes it great? Everything I just said, because there is no moderation or filtration system to get through there. I tell people all the time, like guy on WIP, Joe Giglio. He does a 6 to 10 show Monday through Friday. People hate this guy. I find him super entertaining. I listen to his show a whole lot more when I lived on the West Coast because of the time difference than I do now back on the East Coast. But everybody that says, "Oh, he sucks, he's an idiot, he's blah 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 this, blah 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 that," okay, I get it. You don't like what he's saying. I disagree with a lot of what he says too. But to get to the level of you hosting a daily show on WIP, the different levels that you have to go through to get there, the different like I said, the moderation and the filtration to get through and wean you through to that point in time, you may hate him. You may think he's an idiot. You may disagree with everything he says. But what he doesn't do is actually suck.
I agree. Speaking of Philly radio hosts,
yes,
Jason Martinez, who used to be on 97.5,
he still is.
I thought he's kind of on his own now.
He does like a lot of weekend stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't believe he's still part of like regular everyday programming.
Yeah.
But you can catch him on the weekends. He does the pregame show on 97.5 for the Flyers. You can catch him on air from time to time. But you are correct that I do not believe he's an everyday presence anymore.
So he will be making an appearance on Pit Lane Parlay talking Formula One next week with me. He's apparently a big Formula One fan. So I reached out and I said, "Hey, do you want to be I caught like a minute of his show running the CVS on Saturday, and he mentioned Formula One. So I just shot him a DM on Twitter. I'm like, "Hey, would you like to be on the show?" And he's like, "Yep." So look for that next week.
Love it. Jason Martinez is a great guy, even though I'm pretty sure that he's still mad at me, even though it was his fault.
And
so we're talking like 2018-ish. He had just launched the Stick to Hockey podcast.
Yep.
And as I said, I disagree with, if it comes to football, I disagree with Martinez. If it comes to basketball, I disagree with Martinez. If it comes to baseball, I disagree with him. When it comes to hockey, it's very difficult to not listen to what he's saying. I'd say he's probably a top 5, if not top 3 hockey person in the city of Philadelphia.
Easily.
I don't want to necessarily say number 1, but I'd say he's definitely top 3 to 5.
I think he's the most level-headed.
Yeah, I mean, like you got like Al Morgani. Obviously, he's a hockey guy.
Yep.
You have Keith Jones, obviously a hockey guy. I think that's his name, right? I think his name's Keith Jones. Obviously he's a hockey guy. You got I think it was his name, Neil Hartman. I think that's his name.
Yeah, is he still doing something? I haven't heard his name in a while.
Oh, I was under the impression he was. I could be wrong.
He
I thought
runs.
he was.
He's teaching at Rowan now, and he runs a media company.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, never mind. But he was doing, he's up there. Who's the other guy? Tim Panaccio or something.
Ugh, yeah, he's
Yeah,
retired.
is it? But yeah, I'm not. I can't, the fact that I even pulled these names out is pretty impressive to myself. But these are like the guys who are on the Flyers beat, and I feel like the Flyers beat guys have been doing it for forever. Like you get on the Flyers beat, and that's what you do. But so he had just started the Stick to Hockey podcast, and I had a bunch of sponsors lined up for him, and he was like, "All right, perfect," and then he just didn't read the ads I sent him. He just flat out just didn't read the ads. And I remember emailing him and being like, hey, you gotta read these ads. He's like, okay, when can I expect the money? And I was like, bro, do you not understand what I'm trying to tell you? Like, I cannot pay you until you read these ads.
Right.
So he ended up doing it like once out of like 6 episodes. And then I bumped into him at Fanatic Fan Fest.
Yeah.
And dude was hammered. And he comes up to me and I'm talking to him. He's like, whoa, where's my ad money? And I looked at him, I was like, Jason, where are my ads? And he was just like, he just starts laughing. He just starts dying laughing. He's like, you're right, and walks away. And I was like, what the hell just happened here?
Okay, fair. I get you. I get your side.
So that's my story of Jason Martinez and the podcast advertising. And that's how it just ended. Like there was no further interaction after that, even to this day. Like that's just how it sat.
All right.
Yeah. So he's a little out there when it comes to that kind of stuff. But that's going to be a great conversation. He will talk your ear off, so be prepared. I'm guessing you've never had him on a show before.
No.
Yeah,
I didn't even know he was an F1 fan until my wife said, can you go to CVS? And CVS is literally like 0.6 miles away. I'm like, all right, let me just throw on the radio. I'm not even going to plug in my phone. And he was on and he said, hey, there's Flyers hockey today and Formula One testing, which was last weekend, and Bahrain is going on. And I kind of like didn't really think about it. And then I was recording something for the sports card show. I was editing for the sports card show like later that Saturday. And I was like, I think he said Formula One. So I just tweeted at him and I was like, hey, did you say you're a Formula One fan? And I just kind of started the ball rolling that way. And he said, yeah, sure. So, next week is the first week leading up to the Formula One season. So I figured why not put some extra content out there over just one episode. And yeah, if he talks listen, the less talking I have to do, the better. So if he talks a lot, I'm all for it.
I hear you. But listen, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll just have a whole bunch more nonsense. So we'll just get back to it after this. Bradham Emery in the morning. No Marcus Bradham. Justin Emery. Mike Joachim and guest hosting. We'll be back after this.
Hi, I'd like to talk to you guys today about my friends at Uncle Mike's Homemade Ice Cream. USA Today selected Uncle Mike's Homemade Ice Cream as the best ice cream parlor in Pennsylvania. Uncle Mike's is a family-owned and dedicated to the production of premium quality and gourmet ice cream and sorbet, made fresh daily on the premises using the highest quality ingredients available. Uncle Mike's features over 30 unique delicious flavors offered in scoops, sundaes, shakes, and special order ice cream cakes and pies. Uncle Mike's Homemade Ice Cream is located at 537 York Road in Warminster and is open all year round. Visit Uncle Mike's and let their friendly staff serve you happiness one scoop at a time.
Hey everybody, I want to tell you about Beef Jerky Outlet. 110 Lincoln Highway in Langhorne, right at the corner of Business Route 1 and Oxford Valley Road. Check them out online at beefjerkyoutlet.com/Langhorne. Use promo code BREMI for 10% off your orders. You can check out, they have all sorts of them. Everything you could think of beef jerky, they have. They have a ton of other stuff too. Spices, barbecue sauces, peanuts, all different kind of things. My personal favorite, the honey barbecue turkey jerky. Head up there. Sharon and Michael will take great care of you. Again, use promo code BREMI for 10% off your order at beefjerkyoutlet.com/Langhorne.
Hi, I'd like to talk to you guys about my friends at Amy's Pizza. Amy has a plethora of pizzas for your munching pleasures. especially pizzas such as Hawaiian, Margarita, and Taco. Taco actually being my personal favorite. And also plenty more. If it's sandwiches you desire, they've got those too. Cheesesteaks, burgers, hoagies, even gyros. Amy's offers pickup and takeout options. Also, they're available on Grubhub. Amy's located at 332 York Road in the heart of Hatboro. You can call them today at 215-957-1000. Again, that's 215-957-1000.
Yeah, man, and we are back. Justin Emery, guest hosting Mike Joachim from Pit Lane Parlay Podcast. What's it? Cardboard Fever?
Yep.
Cardboard Fever. I didn't want to missay that. And basically every other podcast you could possibly hear. Online guest co-hosting with me today. Spent a lot of time talking racing, more than I anticipated in the first half. But once you started talking, I started getting more and more questions. So
I love to talk it. So I will cede the topic to you now.
All right. This is going to be a bitter. I'm going to contradict myself many times during this segment.
I'm ready.
So, on the show on Wednesday, Marcus and I had said, do not overreact to the Bucks game against the Sixers. Now, Bucks are number 3 in the East. Do not overreact if they lose. They're coming off a back-to-back in which they had to come back against the Knicks, which is a very annoying team to play against.
Yep.
Especially with the big man out. Well, then the Sixers come out and open up to a 19-point lead against the Bucks, holding them to, I believe they scored 31 points in the first half.
Yes.
Not the first quarter, the first half. They scored 31 points. Now, I don't want to overreact, because I said don't overreact yesterday. But if you're up 19 at home, I don't care if Embiid is even on your roster. You need to close that out. 19-point lead at home, 14-point lead, or 16-point lead, I think it was at halftime. 16-point lead at half. You gotta close that out. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're playing against Godzilla, King Kong, and Captain Planet on the other side. You need to close that game out.
I do like that analogy. But yes, I didn't watch most of the game. I was doing a recording for Cardboard Fever for our Monday episode. And so I was kind of just scrolling on my phone and ignoring the fact that the Flyers were getting absolutely slaughtered.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, but like, what is there really to say about a 9-0 shutout? Like, there's
honestly,
like, what do you say about that?
If you want to have an educated opinion on it, seriously go to Jason Martinez's timeline, because he's pretty level-headed about it.
He was in rare form last night. He was not taking anything last night. Yeah,
and I almost 99% agreed with everything he said. So anyway, the Sixers. So I saw they were up 20. I'm like, all right, cool. Finish recording, do my usual post-recording routine where I go downstairs and watch TV with my wife, walk the dog. And I'm walking the dog, and I'm out by the main street. I live right off of the main road here in North Wales. And I looked at my phone. I saw the Flyers score, and then I saw that the Sixers were now, it was at that point where they were down 93-90, like right towards the end of regulation.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
And I kind of just went, should I just walk in front of the traffic here? Like
just end it. Just wrap it up.
I had a bad day with IndyCar. I had a bad day of work. Neither of the sports teams, the Sixers have blown a lead. The Flyers have given up as many goals as the Sixers have 3-pointers to the Bucks. So, like, there's just, and obviously I'm exaggerating and being dramatic, but man,
it was brutal.
It's just the Sixers to me, and I am like a 3-year basketball fan, like just getting back into it in the last couple of years. And especially this year, I first off, I know Mike Scott's like a big personality in the city. I can't stand watching him play.
Okay, so I have been against the high from day one.
Yeah.
A staple on this show is that we do not, like I said this yesterday, sure, he's a great guy. Sure, he's an awesome teammate. out in the community and everything. I
Yeah.
personally know someone who does a kids camp, and he showed up to the kids camp and had like a Nerf gun war with them. Just that they reached out to him on Twitter and he said yes and hopped on. So like, as far as like the person Mike Scott goes, like is,
Yeah.
I mean, you won't hear me say anything about him. The basketball player,
Awful.
I would trade him for free.
I would drive him. You traded him, I would drive him.
Oh, my guy Tony over at the Heat Ratio, his car is gassed and ready to go for Mike Scott and Danny Green at any given time. He told me, he was like, I will swing through Abington, I will pick you up, and when he's like, I will free of charge drive them to the airport and carry their bags in the baggage claim.
Danny Green was literally the next name I was going to bring up, because there are games where you're like, wow, 18 points, 6 of 7 shooting, like great. And again, I don't know him too well, but I actually have heard from many people he's an absolutely upstanding citizen. But when the Sixers need him to perform, he's nowhere to be found.
So I know nothing about him personally, other than I saw the video of him walking off the Sixers court. This wasn't the other night. This was, I'd say, it was sometime this year, but not within the last like 2 or 3 weeks. He's walking off the court, and one of the fans goes, he had a particularly bad night. Let's just say he went I think he went 1 for 13 shooting. And one of the fans was like, really? You shot like 1 for, you had a bad game. And he throws up double fingers, says, F you, it doesn't matter, I'm rich, and still walks off the court.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
Now, like I said, I don't know anything about him personally. He very well could be an upstanding citizen. He was just mad because some dude was chirping at him.
Yeah.
But if you go out there and you shoot 1 for 13, you deserve everything said to you.
I agree.
The other night, what's against the Knicks. Now, I'm a little bitter about it because he cost me some money. Cost me a little knot of change against the Knicks. But nonetheless, he was a starter. He played 26 minutes. He scored 3 points, shooting 1 for 10. That's just unacceptable as by any professional. I don't care if you're Danny Green or if you're Allen Iverson. Like, that's unacceptable.
Yep.
To go 1 for 10, 1 for 12, 1 for 13, 2 for 15, and get, 3, 5, 7 points. Like, that's unacceptable to me. Like, it just can't happen. And he is now the weak link on the Sixers starting rotation. Marcus brought this up last week, and I'm going to echo this sentiment. He needs to be moved from the starters and come off the bench.
Yeah.
He is now a bench player on this team. And Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green is a better offensive player than Matisse Thybulle. He just is. Yep. But Danny Green is on the back end of his career arc, and Thybulle is only in his second year. Thybulle has made the improvements this season that you would like to see, and at this point in time, Thybulle may only shoot, say, 3 for 7. Okay,
it's better than 1 for 15.
But it's better than 1 for 10, 1 for 12, 1 for 15, and his defense is a lot higher. I mean, the biggest problem with Thybulle as far as winning a Defensive Player of the Year in his career, he will never win that award because Ben Simmons is on the same team as him.
Yeah, he's always going to be overshadowed by Simmons and Embiid.
Exactly. But if you were to put him on another team, he'd probably be a top 5 candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. It's just that on his team, he's number 3.
There is an interesting stat I saw. There's only one guy in the NBA who has more blocked 3-pointer attempts than Thybulle this year. And it might be Kawhi, somebody who's, all-world defensive. I can't remember exactly who it is. And Thybulle doesn't
But he's
play
up there.
more than 15 minutes a night most games.
Yeah, I'd say he's in that, like, he's anywhere from like 14 to 17 minutes a night.
And there are games where he hasn't played at all, and he's still second in the NBA in blocked 3-pointer attempts, next to Kawhi or I don't remember who it was because I read the article 4 days ago at this point. But
right, yeah,
nonetheless, my point still stands.
Yeah, for sure. I saw a stat that it was in relation to steals compared to minutes played.
Yeah.
And Thibault was leaps and bounds number one because of how many defensive impacting plays he makes in such a short amount of time, that if you were to prorate that out and give him 28 to 30 minutes a game, he would, obviously we're projecting and prorating everything out, but he would project out as the best defensive player in the league if he could keep his 17-minute average the same at a 27-minute average.
Yeah, his last 3 games. So the Spurs last week, 3 steals in 17 minutes. The Knicks earlier this week, a steal in 18 minutes. And then last night versus the Bucks, 2 steals in 20 minutes with a couple rebounds too. So, 2 steals in 20 minutes. If he's playing 30 minutes, you're averaging, like Steph Curry, like 2-3 steals a game, like on a nightly basis.
Yeah, I mean, and you saw last night down the stretch of the regulation, when they kept doing the half-court sets with the timeouts. If it was an offensive half-court set, they'd pull Thibault off and they'd put Korkmaz in. And then if it was a defensive set in the half-court, they would sit Korkmaz down and bring Thibault in. And it led to them getting the game to overtime. Now, we had this as an L going into it on the show. When we broke down the schedule without Embiid, we had this game being an L. But
totally
when you're up 16 at half, expectations change. Like, I changed my outlook upon new information gathered. And when I look at it and you have a 16-point lead at half, you need to come away with that dub.
Yes, 100% agree.
Now, Seth Curry getting hurt didn't help. That I'm sure, like, that definitely played an impact. Your starting 2 guard getting hurt. But I stand by what I said. You have a 16-point lead at halftime. You have half the game left and you're up by 16. You got to come away with that. You got to come away with that dub. And it is what it is. Like, that's kind of all. Like I said, I contradicted myself because I said don't overreact with it. But when you see what happens, then you have to.
Listen,
and like, they just didn't. They still don't have enough firepower.
Correct.
To, I think they still need to go out and make another trade. But let's not have a knee-jerk reaction to this game one way or another. Let me have the knee-jerk reaction.
I think you can have both where you understand, okay, it's the Bucks, no Embiid, Seth Curry's hurt, and they still need another shooter off the bench or something like that. I'm definitely on board with, especially if it can help Embiid and the give him maybe a few less minutes down the stretch run into the playoffs. But at the same time, you can still be super annoyed that they blew a 17-point lead and then wake up the next morning and go, okay, it sucked, but we expected it, so let's just move on. Like, I think this time you can have it both ways.
Oh yeah. I'm not worried about the starters right now. It is the bench. You were spot on with that. It is the bench. You need a wing. You need another 3-and-D guy. And the unfortunate thing is that market is getting, less and less every day that passes. And now, I wasn't crazy about him. I didn't necessarily want him, but I understand that he fits the mold, and that was PJ Tucker. And now he's going to go play with Milwaukee this year. So, a potential piece to help you is now going to one of your biggest threats. Now, I still don't think that in a 7-game series with Embiid the Bucks are going to hang. Like if Embiid plays yesterday, the Bucks might get run out of the gym. Like let's just be honest. Like if Embiid is in that game, then you know it was a 4-point game in overtime. That 16-point lead at halftime might be 25 points at halftime if Embiid plays.
Yeah.
So
the other guy. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I just pretty much summed it up. I was like, this at full strength, I'll take this roster against anybody in the NBA for 7 games. A 1 game, anything can happen in 1 game.
Yep.
But to continuously see Simmons, Embiid, Harris, Thibault, Curry, I know I just threw him under the bus, but Green, Shake, Korkmaz, Dwight Howard, Doc Rivers, and that coaching staff over the span of 7 games, potentially 4 of them at the Wells Fargo Center. I mean, like I said, I'll take this roster against anybody, and it doesn't matter. Stack up whoever you want. Eastern Conference, Western Conference, doesn't matter. Lakers, Nuggets, Jazz, Clippers, Bucks, Nets, Heat. The only team that I don't want to see is Portland Trailblazers, and that is because you might have a better team than somebody, but there are certain teams that are just tough matchups for other teams for whatever reason. And I think that the 2-guard play is extremely difficult for the Sixers to defend. So when you have Dame and McCollum out there with the Trailblazers, it's extremely difficult for them to guard that kind of style. Now,
shooting
luckily,
their brains out all season.
Yes, exactly. Now they're not going to see Portland in the NBA Finals because I don't think they're not going to get through the West. So you're not going to have to deal with that. But that's just the one team that worries me because just on paper, you're like the Sixers should crush them. But there's just certain matchups that you just don't want to handle. Like Eli Manning should not have beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice, but he did. Like it just is what it is. Like there's just some matchups that they just come for you. And Trailblazers against the Sixers is that matchup that I feel like for them.
So real quick before we move on from this, the one guy I was kind of curious about who hasn't played this year, he was just kind of like stashed off the side like Iguodala was last year before he got traded, was Trevor Ariza. Small forward type guy, could play some power forward in certain lineups. He's always he's been solid his whole career.
Yes.
And got traded last night to the Heat. I think
he got traded to the Heat for the anti-Semitic guy.
Yeah. So he got traded for nothing.
Yeah. I would call him by his name, except that I actually don't know his name. So that's why I refer to him as the anti-Semitic guy. I actually don't know what his name is.
Myers Leonard.
Yes, that guy, Myers Leonard. Which is kind of a Kensington name anyway. And he looks like he's from Kensington on top of that. We actually made an all Kensington team back during the NBA bubble, and he was on there.
That's
quite a few Miami Heat players actually made it on there. I don't know what that says about the team culture down there, but quite a few Miami Heat players made the all Kensington team.
Respect. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, no. But the thing is about you do know why Ariza has not played this year so far, right?
I'm pretty sure I do. You might need to remind me, but
he is in one of the ugliest divorce and custody battles a pro athlete has ever had go public in my opinion.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, like just a quick Google search. Like he is like the team was basically like, yeah, that you gotta figure this out. So, and I mean, he's not suspended or punished or anything like that. I don't want it to like that he's being, forced to not play. He's being, he's not being punished or anything like that. But just a quick Google search into looking Trevor Ariza and his personal life and why he hasn't played this year. You can get in there pretty quickly. It's quite an ugly scenario he's dealing with.
Well, I wish him the best of luck if that's the way to, we'll move on.
Yeah. I'm ready to go for 4-0 if you are. You got any last NBA things before we move on?
No, not that I can think of.
I will say this. Joel's injury, I think, effectively takes him out of the MVP race as well.
Yeah, most likely. I think
only because I like in a 72 game season, I would be very hard pressed. Like, I know, don't get me wrong, he's my guy. I think that he is the MVP. But like, I can't give you the MVP if you miss 22 games, 25 games, 20 games. I can't give you that. Like, if you miss, 30% of the season, I can't give you the award just because that's 70% you were the best.
Who's your MVP right now?
So my answer has changed in the last 24 hours. If you asked me this on yesterday's show, I would say LeBron. If you're asking me this on today's show, I'm saying James Harden.
100% agreed.
Now, I don't know if James Harden is going to get the consideration because I think, he played, he started the year on a different team. But if we're just, calling it at face value, like it is what it is, he's the MVP.
He's
even though I still think this. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Even though I still think the Sixers beat them in 7.
Yeah, I agreed.
Because what the Sixers have is something that can actually hurt them. Like, so the Nets, they have the big 3. But what the Sixers have is a big 3 on defense.
Right.
They can throw the bodies at you. Like, Ben Simmons can be put on Durant. Is Durant going to get his? Yes. Durant is a top 5 offensive player in NBA history today, right now, and his career is not even over. But Ben can slow him down. You have Thibault. I'd put Thibault on Kyrie. I'm not necessarily putting Thibault on Harden. Harden's a crafty dude with the ball. Kyrie is just explosive and has handles. But I wouldn't necessarily consider Kyrie's game offensively crafty. He's more flashy and dynamic. Whereas Harden will get in there and break you down and get you frustrated. Like, Kyrie will cross you over and make you fall, but there's a good chance he'll miss that shot. Yep. Harden, while he's in there, he might cross you over, but in the process, he'll also get you to foul him. So I don't think that Thibault is ready for that in the playoffs yet with Harden. But I would feel comfortable throwing Thibault at Kyrie. Well, if you're throwing Ben at Durant and you're throwing Thibault at Kyrie, and you have Embiid as the rim protector, guarding the paint, you can throw every defensive set that you want at James Harden and force him to beat you by himself. And with your team defense the way that it is, I'm not sure that he can do that across the span of 7 games. Yeah. The playoffs are a whole lot more physical than the regular season, a whole lot more no calls. And just as I said, Portland's a bad matchup for Philly. I think Philly's a bad matchup for Brooklyn.
Agreed. 100%.
And that is your in-depth NBA analysis of me contradicting myself.
I love it. You ready to get stumped? I'm getting you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we got time for this. It's time. It's Thursday. It's time for our favorite game, and that would be hockey or not. I don't know hockey. I don't know movies. So we shall see. Is it hockey or is it not? So Mike is back with another list of guys for me to choose from, and he will tell me whether they are hockey or not. And without any further ado, let's hear the first name.
So I have an idea for a future one before I give you my list. Adding in, and this would make it exponentially harder for you. Adding in the small National Women's Hockey League and adding in actresses. And I'll just leave it there and let you think about that.
I have to take that to the council.
Yeah. Let see what
See,
Mark thinks. Anyway.
Well, here's the thing is why I feel like that would not, because I probably know actresses better than I know actors. So it would be easier for me to differentiate hockey, women hockey players from actresses than it is for me to differentiate men hockey players from actors.
All right.
Because I would have a better baseline of knowledge to start with actresses versus what I do with actors. But it is a excellent suggestion, and I will take it to the council.
All right, so here's my list.
And by council, I mean Marcus.
Yeah, I knew you. Jason Robertson.
Jason Robertson. I'm going to go with no.
He is a hockey player.
Damn it.
Morgan Riley.
I feel like he is a hockey player.
He is, yes.
Yes. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with that name.
Jake Bean.
Oh, no, he is a actor.
No, he is a hockey player.
No, that is Sean Bean.
You got so excited with that one.
I was like, he was in GoldenEye. He played 006. No, Sean Bean.
Okay. Ty Smith.
Is that the guy from Extreme Makeover?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah. That's a no. Is he the guy from Extreme Makeover?
No, he is an NHL rookie.
Oh.
All right, you can only you got to get these.
Damn it.
You got.
Yeah. No. We're gonna run through and see how that. Like we're gonna do the full gamut to see what the total is. But
right.
You're right. I need to win out in order to win. You are correct.
Bill Skarsgård.
Why you do this to me, man? Like, were you someone who watched the Chappelle Show?
Not really.
No. Okay. Well,
I mean, I've watched it. I didn't watch it religiously.
Did you ever see the skit of Black George Bush?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's the one scene where he gets asked a question, and he gets asked a question by a black reporter. And he goes, "Man, why you gotta ask me those questions like that? I thought you were gonna look out for me until I feel you asked me that name. Why you gotta do that to me?" What's his name?
Bill Skarsgård.
Skarsgård. I would definitely like. He plays hockey.
He is an actor.
So
your streak of winning is over.
It is over.
Let's go through the last three.
Yeah. There's three. No, I thought there should just be. What was that?
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be 4-1. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's two left. Sorry, I added some extra names on there by mistake.
Oh, that's all good.
So we have Jake Evans.
Hockey?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Boom.
Last one. We'll skip this one out here, and we'll go with. Sorry, I'm getting my keyboard here. Austin Butler.
I feel like he plays hockey.
He does not.
He does not. Okay.
That was a rough one. I'm sorry. I'm proud to break your streak.
That was my second worst performance at 2-5. My worst performance was 1-6. Actually, I don't think I have an 0-7, but I know I have a 1-6. That was a good one out of you. That one was difficult.
And I had no help from the wife this week. This was I kid you not, I put this together while we were having our technical issues at the start of the episode.
Hey, yeah, I hear you for sure. Go for it. Whenever, at least I'm glad that I'm sure at some point in time there has been an actor and a hockey player that had the same name. You know, like I'm sure there was like a John Smith or something, you know, something like that is both. But when it comes time to start pulling those out, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I meant John Smith, the actor, not the hockey player.
Then you have to start using like middle names or something.
I'm gonna start freaking out, Mike. But, see, like the thing is that you could go into like when we say hockey players and act like Marcus will go and pull names from people on Broadway. You know, we're not necessarily talking just Hollywood. He'll go pull names from the Czech hockey leagues. You know, these are not necessarily NHL guys, but if you have a guy named like Czech Monik, I'm gonna take a pretty good guess.
Yep.
He plays hockey.
Yeah, there were a few I was looking at like NHL. So except Morgan Riley, all the NHLers were rookies here. And I was looking at the list and I was like, wow, that would be a really good one. But when the last name is Lafreniere, you're like, oh, that's a hockey player. So no,
yeah.
I don't
want like LePerrier. That dude plays hockey.
Or also I don't want to do, you know, Chris Hemsworth because you're like, oh, actor.
Exactly.
That name do non-hockey.
Except if you're Marcus and you try to get me with like guys from The Hangover. I'm sorry, not The Hangover. Superbad.
Yeah.
He was like, what's his name? Cena, I think his last name is. Michael Cena, I think it is.
Michael Cera.
Yeah, that's it, Michael Cera. He was like that. I was like, come on, dude. I was like, you act like Marcus out here acting like Superbad didn't come out the same year I graduated high school. Like I didn't think I was Superbad. Come on now. Of course I know who that guy is. He was also in Juno. Ask me something else he's in, I won't have an answer for you. I know he's in those two movies.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing nowadays.
Hopefully he's rich, just hanging out somewhere, living the life. I mean, you were in Superbad. Like you're fine. Like you're fine.
Yeah, fair point.
Mike, appreciate you jumping on again with me. As I said last time, that won't be the last time you did it. This will not be the last time you do it. So I appreciate it. And give everyone the full rundown of where to find you at.
Well, first off, thanks for listening last week, and thanks for listening to this week's. You can find both of my shows at Pit Lane Parlay, PARLEY on the end, and at Card Fever Pod. Please reach out. My personal social media is at Mike_JOAC, and I'm happy to talk.
Are you done changing your handle now?
Yes, it dates back to when my Twitter got dismantled.
Right.
December of 2019. So I was trying to get it back to as close to that as possible. So once I was able to do so, it took some time. And every once in a while, I still get like that Twitter check, like, please confirm you're not a robot. And it takes like a day to get my Twitter back. So hopefully this is that's the last time that happened. But yeah, I'm happy to talk sports, or especially racing. Formula One starts next weekend. So and I think it's on ESPN at 11 a.m. on Sunday. So, nice, not too early in the morning. So check it out. And if you're watching it and you're like, what the hell is going on? Shoot me a DM and I will answer any and all questions.
Love it. Love it. You're extremely accessible on social media. So people, do not hesitate to reach out to him through his various channels that he has mentioned. Follow me at Justin Emery Show. Only hit me up on the Twitter. I don't even know if I have the IG app on my phone anymore. Follow the show, Brad Emery Pod, everywhere. Check out Marcus at Marcus B. Tweetin. Merchandise stores up, BradAndEmeryShow.com. And check out our people over at the Beef Jerky Outlet for 10% off your order with promo code BREMY. Also, this week, the last week, we are live streaming the show. Starting next week, it will be on all platforms, still Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. every day for your listening pleasure. It will just not be live streamed. So Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, et cetera, all those platforms. Hit subscribe, get all the episodes. If you have any issues with it, hit me up on social media, hit Marcus up on social media. We can get that sorted out for you. So please do not hesitate to do that. And until next time, you can be with us, you can be against us, but you're never going to stop us. Late.